Good morning, everybody. We appear to have lost one of my scenes, which is a pain in the backside. Good morning, Joe. I hope you're well. So, yes, we appear to have lost one of my scenes, so we're going to have to go straight to the content stream. Now, I have been busy putting up the Christmas decorations here at Crypto Warehouse. And here they are. Look at that for Christmas decorations. Let me just make sure we have the chat running on Binance. Everybody's happy. Let's get this show on the road by not talking about crypto for an entire hour. There we go. Let's make sure. Close that down. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Mike, and today is the 16th of December, 9 days to go till Christmas, and the forsoother of problems, myself, I have basically called this drop. That's right, I am claiming glory. Not really glory. I'm claiming that this pain in the markets is caused solely by our stream. Okay? Yesterday, we talked about this. We said we wanted it to go up. We didn't think it was going to go up. We were at a turning point. And this week is a big week. Housing, unemployment and inflation are all coming out this week. And I think the markets are basically trying to shake themselves loose. I think we could be in for some pain. We could also be in for some gain, but we're going to talk about that later on. Now, before we begin, you will notice that we have put up our Christmas decorations. The Crypto Warehouse Christmas tree is up and the lights are up. And believe you me, in this day and age, it's quite expensive having electricity on. I mean, it just is, isn't it? And then we have Santa Claus in the top right-hand corner there. He is the one that's galloping towards your house with your prizes and your presents for Christmas Day. Now, myself and the Oracle, we've been talking about the Christmas streams, when we are going to be streaming over Christmas, and we're going to publish that today, probably on X. Now, on Binance Square, you can only set up a few streams. We can't set them all up. And we've got, if I look closely, I think we've got about 20 streams worth of content to do between now and the end of the year. We're going to be streaming on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. We're going to be streaming on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, because we appreciate that most of you still live in a place where people don't know anything about crypto. And, you know, maybe you live on your own. You know, maybe we are one of your connections to the outside world. So we think it's only fair that during this massive downturn and during the Christmas period, that we, in our own little way, are here for you. Okay? As well as that, we're going to have our Christmas show and our end of season awards, which we did in 2022. That was the last time we did this. The Oracle is in chat, by the way, hopefully picking up some tips from me on where the markets are going to go. But the first thing we're going to start with is we're going to start with the chart, and it is not looking good. Bitcoin 86, Ethereum slammed below $3,000, BNB 860, XRP way away from $2, Solana back at 126, Cardano at 38 cents. Cardano hasn't actually come down that much, really. Was it 40 cents yesterday? There we go. Bitcoin Cash. Who buys Bitcoin Cash? Bitcoin Cash is like baby pigeons. They're out there, but nobody ever sees them. Bitcoin Cash holders are out there, but nobody ever sees them. Hype is down at $26. Chainlink, $13. Monero down there in 15th position at $414. And this is the bit that's going to cause us the most pain in a minute. When we go and look at the 24-hour losers, Canton is down, Canton is up, Monero is up, Meme is up a touch, and Pippin we ignore because it's a brand new coin. But this is where we're going to feel the pain. Aster is down, Midnight, Stark, Pump, Ondo, WorldCoin. It's just a sea of red. There's nothing else for me to say about it. Immutable X, Celestia is at 50 cents. Oracle, 50 cents for Celestia. Athena is down, Render is down, ASI is down. The markets are on fire. Now, remember what we say, and we're below $3 trillion, by the way. Remember what we say, okay? Nothing goes up or down forever. Now, we've come from 126 to 86,000. That is 30% straight down pretty much. We wobbled around at 90,000. We've come down to 86. People are now talking about 75, 65, 55,000. Nothing goes down forever. Remember what we said yesterday when people were giving you price targets of $250,000, $350,000 for Bitcoin by the end of the year. And we were saying that's impossible. I'm sitting here now, and short of a black swan event, we are not going to see 60,000, probably not going to see 70,000 in the next couple of weeks. Now, the black swan event we're going to talk about in today's stream, because I'm going to try and put one bit of non-kind of crypto-related content into as many shows as possible. And what we're going to talk about today is the carry trade. Now, the carry trade, you might think, well, what's that got to do with crypto? Well, it's got a lot to do with crypto because Japan is on fire, and Japan is going to do something which is going to unravel all of the leverage in the market. And guess what happens to be a very volatile, very high-risk asset to hold right now? Bitcoin. Bitcoin at this moment in time, I think, is the miner bird in the mine. I think that's what we're seeing now. So we're going to talk about the carry trade today. But first of all, we're going to talk about strategy. We're going to talk about JP Morgan. We're going to talk about Solana Mindshare. We're going to talk about Hyper ETFs. We're going to talk about the carry trade. We're going to talk about Person of the Year. And we're going to talk about... Now, I don't know who this person is, but he's called Soldier Boy. Okay? Now, number one, and we shouldn't laugh at this, he may be illiterate. And number two, he's in big trouble. Okay? And we're going to talk about Soldier Boy a little bit at the end of the show. And that is pretty much it for the day. Good morning, Mags. I hope you are well in chat. And I hope you like my decorations. I did this myself. Okay? We now have our little lights, our little tree, and our little Santa Claus. But I think what we need to do now is let's throw this negativity in the bin and have a look at some X-Files, which are going to be equally probably as bearish. And if you're wondering why I have my hoodie up, it's because I am 2 days away from being able to have a shower after my operation. Federal Reserve just pumped $5.2 billion into the US banking system through overnight repos. This is the sixth largest liquidity injection since COVID and surpasses the peak of the dot-com bubble. First things first, this does not make number go up. I have a feeling that the financial system in America is preparing to deal with a very big problem, and that could very well be a banking crisis. It could very well be the Japanese carry trade unwinding. It could be many, many things, but this does not mean number go up. This could very well be a sticking plaster on the economy. So let's not cheer just yet. We want the money printer to come on. Of course we do. We want liquidity coming back into the market. Of course we do. But we have to take everything into context. And I don't believe that this is the start of the money printer. I think this is a problem in the system that we are blissfully unaware of. So, money printer is on, but I don't think the money printer is on for necessarily the right reasons. And maybe it will come to pass. Maybe the Fed will explain what's going on in due course. But this has happened a few days before unemployment, housing, and inflation. And they've bought $6 billion a few days before we hear these figures. And they already know these figures. So I think something is amiss in the economy. I think the economy is starting to stall. And I do blame Powell on this, by the way. He is responsible for this. Now, 171,000 crypto traders were liquidated. The total liquidations come to $578 million. That isn't a lot. I mean, that's a walk in the park compared to what we were looking at. What I would say to you is, if you are a leverage trader, this is not the week to leverage trade. This is the week where you might short thinking that unemployment is going to come in where you think it's going to come in. Inflation is coming down. You're going to think housing is picking up and you're going to go and long and then you're going to go short. Or you think the data is going to come in bad and then you're going to short and then they're going to go long. And they will look for you. Okay? The people with more money will liquidate you wherever you go. So don't leverage right now. It's not the time to do that. Absolutely. Now, we covered this yesterday. And again, I had a look at the two Kevins, because they are the two Kevins that are pretty much open to getting the job of the new chairman of the Fed. Kevin Warsh is the guy that I covered yesterday, and he is now the favourite to replace Jerome Powell. So not only did I predict the crash yesterday, I also predicted the new Fed chairman. Again, where do you go? Where do you go to find more alpha than we give you on this channel? Now, getting back to Crypto Warehouse for 1 second, I did say over the next few days, few weeks, we would start to cover a little bit about the journey that the Oracle went on in Dubai and, of course, Abu Dhabi. And Karen had a panel with Spotty Wi-Fi, Crypto Warehouse, of course, and Crypto Jobs. And there he is in full Unicolor, I don't know, full Technicolor, I suppose. How to build your personal brand and grow as a creator on Binance Square. That was the panel that took place directly after the famous Ben Cowen. So tomorrow I'm going to probably share the picture of Ben Cowen and Brogan together in the green room. So again, we don't just sit behind computers and talk. We go out and press the flesh. Okay, we press the flesh when we go out. The Senate will vote on the crypto market structure bill today at 3 p.m. The bill is designed to reduce market manipulation in crypto. If passed, market goes parabolic. If failed, market dumps even more. Expect high volatility. I think we can pretty much nail where that came from. A couple of more. We've got quite a lot of these because a lot happened yesterday. And then we're going to get into the news. Volatility, I think, is probably the best word to use for this week. Liquidity is on the rise. We are at the point now where even the likes of Dan Crypto Trades, Ben Cowen himself, a lot of the people that I have a lot of faith in talk about whether we are at the end of the 4-year cycle. And so far, it looks like that 4-year cycle is playing out. Because we topped in October, we're now coming down, as I said yesterday. If we're looking at a 6 to 12 month bear market, we're 2 months in and we're 2/3 of the way through the price reduction. So the 4-year cycle still stands. But if we don't see a $60,000, $70,000 Bitcoin in the next 5 or 6 months, if we start to go back up and let's say we do break back above $104,000, $107,000, then the case will be made that the 4-year cycle is over. And it's hard to predict. It's the same way it was hard to predict in 2021 and 2017. You can only go off the data. And I have said all along, I will stick to the 4-year cycle until the 4-year cycle breaks. And whether you want to look at that as the 4-year crypto cycle or the 4-year liquidity cycle or the 4-year presidential campaign, however you want to look at it, so far, the 4-year cycle is playing out. We just haven't had the blow off top that we said yesterday. And if we don't get the blow off top, then why are we going to get the mass capitulation? If we don't rip to 140 or 150 or 160,000, then how are you expecting us to come to 40 or 50,000? Both extremes are extremes. They're the outliers. So maybe we hit 70. And we wobble around there for a little while, maybe a couple of months at 70,000 before we start to recover. We've got a new Fed chairman coming in, which is going to be a Trump boy. What do you think he's going to do? He's going to set fire to that box of matches and throw it into the crate of fireworks, because that's what Trump wants in the midterms. Okay? Remember what we said yesterday. Stimmy checks, new chairman of the Fed, midterms. Markets pump after the midterms, dump into the midterms. So Bitcoin is not in its own, it's not a special little snowflake. It lives within the entire ecosystem of the financial markets. It lives with gold, it lives with stocks and bonds. So you can't take it out of that basket and say, well, it's its own special little snowflake. It isn't. So more than likely we dump into May or June. I think it's May that he gets appointed. He then makes some rate decision cuts, probably in June, and then we might start to see the markets pick up again. So June for me is probably going to be the bottom. We're already towards the end of December. We've already had 2 or 3 months. And if, like I said, if we don't move back up, the 4-year cycle for me still stands. The 4-year cycle for me still stands. There is a divergence in the force right now, I know, but it's playing out the way it's playing out. Now then, Fidelity reports that Bitcoin's 4-year cycle may be over. Investors believe we could be entering a super cycle. For reference, a super cycle in commodities in the 2000s spanned nearly a decade. I'm not sure on this one yet. As I've just said, if we get no peaks, we get no troughs. So if a super cycle is Bitcoin treading above 70, above 80, above 90,000 for 6 to 12 months, then yes, I do agree. But I think the days of volatility are over, and that is a good thing for crypto. Send it higher, says KB. KB, don't jinx us, KB. Mags, I know because I've been working, but after my shift ends, I watch all the videos and live streams. Thank you, Mags. Good morning, Danny. Who else is here? Tariq is here. Good morning. Merry Christmas, everybody, says the Oracle himself. I hope you are well. Nasdaq prepares to file extending stock trading hours to 23 hours on weekdays. Again, we've covered all this before. We told you all this was happening. Adapt or die is something which you can look at. Many companies in the past. There used to be a lot more camera companies than there are today. There used to be camera shops on your high street. Probably wherever you live in your village, there was a camera shop. It sold cameras. It sold Kodaks. It sold Fujifilm. It sold all of these things. And then the mobile phone came along, and what did it do? It put cameras into phones. And then overnight, they all died. You can look at Nokia. Okay, Nokia came along, had 90% of the market. What didn't it do? It didn't consider the smartphone. So what did Nokia do? It died. It actually got bought out recently. So if you don't adapt, you die. Nasdaq and every single stock exchange around the world, and I guarantee this, and as much as I can guarantee because it's not financial advice, I guarantee you that every major stock exchange in the world will be almost 24/7 trading within the next 3 or 4 years. I can absolutely guarantee it. Because if they don't, then BlackRock will come along with its 24/7, 365 blockchain-based trading platform and blow them all out of the park. Okay? And yes, people will bring in rules and bring in laws where they will banish it and do all of these kind of things. But it's just to give the Nasdaqs of this world time to catch up and the FTSE time to catch up. They're not going to stop it. Everybody knows it's ridiculous that you can only trade stocks between the hours of 8:30 and 4:30. I mean, what are we in the 1800s? Okay? You know, we're not living in Charles Dickens's time. If you can do online banking at 4 o'clock in the morning, why can't you go and buy Nvidia stock? Why can't you go and buy Meta stock at 4 o'clock in the morning? So it's obvious that this is going to come, but it's important to understand this would not happen if it wasn't for crypto. So when you say crypto isn't doing anything, absolutely is. It absolutely is. Crypto is changing the last bastion of the Victorian era. Maybe not the Victorian, slightly younger than the Victorian era, but you know what I mean. Strategy buys another 1 billion in Bitcoin for second week straight. Here is why Saylor keeps doubling down. Now, AI has a lot to answer for, but that looks more like, is he called Sam? The guy that was in Jurassic Park. The guy. I can't remember what he was called. Anyway, it looks more like him than Michael Saylor. I mean, I wouldn't have used this image. I'd have used a proper picture of Michael Saylor. So he's bought $980 million of Bitcoin. They've now got 671,000 Bitcoin. I think he's probably trying to aim for 1 million. And as the price drops, he will get closer and closer to that target. I don't think this is a good thing in the long term, by the way. And the reason is that it's centralizing too much of Bitcoin. And I know Bitcoin is decentralized. I know it's not uncensorable. I get all of that. I just don't like the fact that somebody holds 1 million Bitcoin. Satoshi should be the only person in history that ever holds 1 million Bitcoin. So they've bought another 10,645 Bitcoin at $92,000 per coin. And they don't care about the price of Bitcoin. They're going to keep buying. If they keep buying their Bitcoin, they're either A, crazy, or B, they have conviction. And I've made tens of videos for the OGs, not public videos, but for the OGs. And I talk about this. I don't care if you are holding Bitcoin for your retirement, or let's say you want to retire at 40 and you're 27, 28 years of age now. If you buy Bitcoin every week, 10, 20, $50 of Bitcoin every week, and you do that for the next 15 years, you don't care about the price of Bitcoin. You've got your house that you live in, and maybe you own your house and you've got a mortgage. Do you keep track of the value of your house on a weekly basis? Of course you don't, because you're living in it and it's accruing value over time. Bitcoin accrues value over time. We're at $86,000. So every single person that bought Bitcoin before November the 24th, 2021 is in profit. And I can guarantee you now, in 4 years' time, on the 20th of October, 2029, everybody that bought Bitcoin up until the 20th of October, 2025 will be in profit. And we can probably say the same thing about 2033. You buy Bitcoin to secure your future. You don't do it to worry about 126, 150, 85, 55, 75. That's just noise. You buy Bitcoin, okay? That should be number one. If we were going to write the 10 commandments of crypto, number one would be buy Bitcoin every week. That would be it. And number two would be read number one. Okay? That should be the plan. Now, again, I don't think the centralization of Bitcoin, I don't like it, but it doesn't matter what I like or not. You can't stop it. That's the point of Bitcoin. He is going to keep buying Bitcoin. That is what he's going to do. He's going to keep buying Bitcoin. And one thing I want to point out to Mags is the story I tell all the time. I was sitting in my living room 7-8 years ago when Bitcoin was at $3,000. Told this before. And every couple of days, I was buying $300 worth of Bitcoin. And I sat there and I'm like, this is absolutely crazy. If my wife could see me buying Bitcoin that has already crashed and I'm buying $300 a time of this asset, I must be insane. I must be crazy. Okay? Now, if we fast forward the next 15 years, people are going to look back at you and say, I can't believe you were buying Bitcoin at $86,000. It's now $250,000. You must be a millionaire by now. Now, again, there is no certainty in life other than birth, death, and taxes or something like that. But come on. I don't really care about any of that. I care about the fact that I tell you time and time again, buying Bitcoin on a regular basis is the number one thing you should do. And that is fact. Okay? You can go back over any other bull run, and we are above any other bull run. And when we come down in this bull run, which we're going to do in the bear market, we will go in the region of where the previous all-time high was. 69,400 or whatever it was. We'll go there. Maybe we go 66, maybe go 67. Maybe the carry trade, when we talk about that later on, maybe that brings us straight down there in February. Who knows? Because this is coming, and I want you to be prepared for it. So Strategy keeps buying. They're talking down here. He keeps saying, even if Bitcoin goes to $1, we won't be liquidated. We're going to keep buying. Listen, this man you were calling crazy when he was buying his Bitcoin at $115,000. This man you will call crazy when he's buying it at $86,000. You will call him crazy at $70,000. But in 5 to 10 years' time, if he and we are right, he will have clutched the biggest win in crypto history by buying. And again, go off history. History will prove that he will be right. And so will Nayib Bukele, or whatever he's called. They've got 7,500 Bitcoin now, or whatever they've got. Again, massive, massive success. Now, JP Morgan moves money markets onto the blockchain. A line has quietly been crossed in global finance. One of the world's largest banks has moved a core cash management product onto a public blockchain rather than treating tokenization as a pilot or a sad experiment. JP Morgan is now using blockchain infrastructure to distribute yield-bearing instruments typically associated with conservative institutional portfolios. Why do these people want to do this? That's the question you should be asking. The reason is, number one, friction. It's very expensive, very time-consuming to do things in the traditional way. You move things online, you remove a lot of friction, you remove a lot of the cost base, you increase the speed of transactions. All of these things are great. And the biggest one for me is a global audience. Most of you will never have heard of JP Morgan up until maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Most of you will never have heard of BlackRock until 2 or 3 years ago. And now you hear about them every week. And for me, BlackRock, by the way, they're not nice people. JP Morgan, they're not nice people. They're not nice in what they do. They force house prices up. They force first-time buyers out of being able to afford their own homes. They are as close to... I can't say the word devil. Probably Satan. Probably as close to Satan as you get in humanity. But they are moving into the blockchain because they smell the money. Okay? Show me the money. The money's on the blockchain. Money market funds are amongst the most conservative instruments in finance, designed for capital preservation. Investors in the fund do not interact with it through a crypto-native platform. Instead, access through the JP Morgan's institutional liquidity system, with subscriptions, redemptions, and reinvestments are handled alongside traditional products. And one of the things to point out about this is, you might think that they're only going to do this for high net worths at the minute, but it's a little bit like, these posh fashion brands, like Louis Vuitton, for example. Louis Vuitton might have a handbag that your wife wants, but it's 15,000 euros. And you're like, you're not buying that. We could get a house, a donkey, and a car for that money. So we're not going to buy you that back. But then what will happen is Louis Vuitton will bring out LV Diamond, LV Class. And that will be a cheaper version, an optics-wise cheaper version of their products. And that handbag might be 500 euros. And you'll think, you know what, that's a Louis Vuitton anyway, Louis Vuitton Diamond, whatever it might be. I'm going to buy that for my wife and then go and get my donkey in my house. And that's what these people do, is they will bring out institution-grade products, high net individual worth products, and then when there is a reduced cost base, whenever there is an opportunity to make a lot of money to offer these things to a lot of people, like Vanguard do, they will offer it to the peasants, which is us. We're the peasants, okay? Bringing things onto the blockchain means that the peasants can eat at the same table as the high net worths. And whether we like that or not, we should embrace it, because we talked about Ondo and BlackRock in the past offering you the yield-bearing stablecoin. They've got their own treasuries products, and these things have not been available to you. So however you want to see it, they want you in their pack, okay? Because there's no cost to them. They offer it on the blockchain. You can go in and buy this on Solana, seamless transactions. You can buy $100 of this every month, and they don't care. They don't care about this. Now, I know this example here is using their own blockchain. Forget that for now. They will wrap these products up and offer them on Solana. And you can go and get them on Ethereum if you want, or an Ethereum layer 2. But Solana, how many times are people going to call Solana a scam chain? I don't care about the pump and dumps. I don't care about all of this. What that proved was A, that's where people are, and B, that's where the money is. That's all the banks care about. Where are the people and where is the money? Solana. Yes, you've got deep liquidity on Ethereum. That's where all the products are going to be built to start with. You look at any major financial product, it launches on Ethereum first. Then where does it go? It goes straight to Solana. Do you know where it doesn't go? It doesn't go to Cardano. It doesn't go to XRP yet. It doesn't go to any of these other chains because the interoperability is not there, but it will in time. But that time that it takes for them to jump onto the bandwagon, Solana is already eating at this table. Other products recently, I can't remember the name of them, it wasn't Goldman Sachs, there was another smaller bank, they didn't even go to Ethereum, they went straight to Solana. That's where the action is. Solana Breakpoint is the place to be. That's the number one place where things are announced. And if you look at what they were talking about at Solana Breakpoint, they want to create a DEX. They want to create a decentralized exchange which is faster, which is cheaper, which is more accurate than any exchange in the world. They want to take on NASDAQ, they want to take on London, they want to take on Berlin and Paris, they want to take them all on and win. That is Solana's end goal. Okay? What are other chains trying to do? Oh, well, I think we're going to build an NFT platform marketplace thing. Oh, we're going to build a predictions market. Solana's going after exchanges that have been around for hundreds of years. They're not even in the same game as Solana. But people still go, oh, it's a scam chain. And yes, start of this year, I said, I don't want to see any more of these massive pump and dump programs. I don't want to see more Melanias. I don't want to see more Trump coins because it's going to damage the reputation. It's like American Psycho when they're all showing the cards and you've got the Solana card and everyone laughs at you. No one is laughing at Solana at this moment in time. So, public blockchains, JP Morgan, it's happening in front of your very eyes, okay? You blink, you miss a month in crypto, and guess what? Things just move on. I said yesterday, crypto is moving. It's maybe 6 to 12 times the pace of everything else right now because it's still expanding. That's what happens. And we are going to get to the point where crypto just doesn't expand that much because there's not that much stuff left to build, but we're still seeing so many things being built. The predictions markets are coming out of every chains, real world assets. Maple Finance hasn't even touched the tip of the iceberg yet. Ondo hasn't touched the tip. Stock trading, tapping into the treasury bonds, it's not everywhere yet. When it is everywhere, you'll see the pace of growth slow down. But we're not at that mature stage yet, but that is where we are heading. Now, again, another element towards adoption are the ETFs. We've talked a lot about the ETFs. I mentioned yesterday that I'm going to probably do a video about an ETF portfolio. Not a portfolio of you going out and buying all these ETFs, but a portfolio of which cryptocurrencies should you buy in an ETF portfolio. And the reason I'm going to do that is I said yesterday, if the men in suits are looking at crypto, they're picking out the assets that they think should be in an ETF. You can see it clear as day. Hyperliquid didn't really exist a year and a half ago, and now Bitwise are applying for an ETF filing for it. So there will be not that many probably moving forward. There will be new projects, maybe some of the predictions markets, maybe some of the Mindshare projects, maybe more DEXs on different chains. They will also fall into these ETFs they've not come to pass yet. We don't know what they are, but they will be here. Now, why is this important? Because this is a massive, massive moment in time for Hyperliquid. Now, if I was a betting man, I would look forward and say, right, what other projects do we have that have just come out of incubation? What other projects are just starting out that could get an ETF filing? And there are a few, and I would look at DEXs. They make money. I would look at the predictions markets. They make money. AI, we haven't seen any crypto AI ETF filings just yet. So there's lots of things to go on, but what they're doing is they're picking the lowest hanging fruit. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, probably BNB and Cardano will be in there as well. Chainlink is in there. Now Hyperliquid. This is big for Hyperliquid. So anyway, we don't need to talk about the details of this, but this is, again, bullish for Hyperliquid. Ask yourself a question. Should you be listed, or would you care more about ETF listings or more about centralized exchange listings, or do you need both to succeed? Clearly, the answer is we need both to succeed. You want to be listed on Binance and you want to have an ETF. But there may very well come a time where your token simply exists in the funds of ETFs. Maybe when some of these tokens start to appear and you think, well, you know what, I don't want to be listed on all of these different exchanges. Maybe I just want to have an ETF. I don't know. I'm just saying. But this is great for Hyperliquid. Massive, massive news. I still haven't bought into them as a project. I know the tokenomics of it now. I know it's great. But again, people were talking about $100 and $200. And I never really thought that was going to happen. Now then, a few comments in chat. Let's see who is here. Good morning, Crypto Warehouse. Manjeet is back. I am feeling pretty good, my friend. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm just trying to get back into things. And I kind of missed a big part of this move down. And I was probably offline for 2.5 weeks, but I'm back now. Anyway, I'm going to try and keep this as simple as possible because this is not meant to confuse anybody. But I want to explain what the carry trade is because it's one of those things. If I go back to 2007, 2008, I had an accountant. And before we had the crash in 2007, 2008, he said to me, there's going to be a subprime mortgage crash and it's going to be apocalyptic. And I went, that sounds absolutely amazing. Yeah. And I had no idea what he said, okay? No idea what he said. And then probably 6 to 12 months after he told me about this, of course, we had the 2008 market crash. And it absolutely, I don't think the markets have recovered since. And that was 17 years ago. The carry trade is probably not going to be as big as the subprime mortgage problem, but it's going to cause a problem. Now, let me explain it as simple as possible. You borrow a stable currency like the yen. So you get $100,000 of yen, which is probably going to stay roughly $100,000. And you pay very little in interest rates because interest rates are so low. So you might pay 1% interest a year. And then what you do is you take that $100,000 in yen and you bring it to the American markets and you buy, for example, a US government, US debt, and you might get paid 4.5%. So out of your $100,000, you're making, after you've paid your loan and after you've got your interest, you're making about 3.5% a year. So on your $100,000, you are making $3,500 a year. Now you multiply that by a few million, and you're talking about $100 million a year. So you're borrowing $100 million a year, you're paying $1 million in interest, you're making $4.5 million, you've got $3.5 million profit. Okay? That all works on the proviso that government debt pays you 4.5% and the Japanese charge you 1%. Now, okay, when it hits the fan is where those two numbers get closer together. So let's say the Japanese interest rate goes up to 2%. And let's say that let's say that the American debt suddenly goes from 4.5% to, let's say, 3.7%. Suddenly, you're only making 1.7%. You've lost half of your money, okay? What you do then is you sell off all of that debt, all of the money that you've got in dollars, you buy back the yen, and then you repay your debt in Japan because there's not enough money in it for you to do it. That is what the carry trade is about in the simplest way possible for me to describe. And this kind of goes into all of that. So firstly, they can generate steady returns because the yen is fairly stable. You wouldn't do this with a currency that fluctuates too much because you'll lose on the exchange rate. So you might want to look at the Swiss franc, you might want to look at the yen as examples of stable currencies, that is. And basically, this is what is going to cause the problem. This is quite a good picture, actually. So you borrow in yen, you invest in dollars, you sit in the middle, you get your earnings, you take away the repayment, and that's it. Now, from January, as far as I'm aware, the Bank of Japan are going to spend the next 100 years repaying or buying, I can't remember which way around it is, all of the debt. And they're going to do it on a weekly and monthly basis. But they're also going to put interest rates up in January. So if there is going to be a black swan that we know about, not obviously ones we don't know about, it's this, the carry trade. And it kind of, you can do this in, you can do this in all kinds of life. So let's say you've got a house and you've got a mortgage. And let's say your mortgage is 2.5%. You remortgage your house for €100,000, and let's say you can get 7 or 8% in stable coins. You will make 6% profit on your €100,000 a year. So it can happen in your individual life, also can happen on a much larger scale. And when it happens at a much larger scale, that, unfortunately, is probably the one thing that people are worried about the most, okay? Because it looks as if it's going to happen. And maybe it does happen, and maybe it doesn't, because don't forget, these types of unwinds in the carry trade, it's a threat. It might not come to pass. We had this in 2024. We had this in 2022 or 2021 as well. So it's always been there because it's the same way as strategy. Let's say there is a call put on strategy and strategy has to sell 300,000 Bitcoin, for example. The threat is there. But there is a bigger chance of this happening in front of your eyes right now. There is a bigger chance of this unwinding than a call being put on strategy. So you have to weigh up the chances. The biggest threat that we know about is this. We have other things as well that we can't avoid talking about. We have Taiwan and China. That is something that at some point in the near future there is going to be conflict. That is an absolute undeniable fact because China believes it's still part of China and they're never going to get away from that. So there are things we know about. But then there are also things that may or may not come to pass, if I quote Gandalf for a second. Now then, this is just ridiculous. KB's got to head out. See you tomorrow. I hope you're well. Right. I can't understand why this has happened, but apparently Decrypt have given Person of the Year to Donald Trump. He has vaulted the crypto industry to unprecedented heights, but have those perks come at the cost of Bitcoin's founding principles? I don't really care about the founding principles. They're irrelevant to me. The reason it's irrelevant to me is I remember the people who were precious about the internet 25 years ago. They wanted the internet to be this source of knowledge. They wanted it to be like the biblical libraries that existed. And that's not what the internet was about. The internet became a way to consume more things, whether it be content, whether it be goods, whatever it might be. And crypto is just going to go the same way. So, no, Satoshi made Bitcoin for the world. It was up to the world to decide what to do with it. He simply made a different monetary policy that couldn't be broken by a government. Governments print money and debase the money in your pocket. And I am not precious about many things with regards to crypto. I'm precious about the 21 million hard cap. I'm precious about the fact that I see threats to it in strategy, but that threat is only to price. It's not to Bitcoin itself. So I don't like these people who are precious about any chain. Solana, Ethereum, Bitcoin. Grow up. You're not part of a cult. You're not married to any of these coins. Okay? Hold them to benefit your life. So, his pro-crypto push reshaped US policy while also raising conflict of interest and civil liberties concerns. Privacy advocates say the Department of Justice prosecutions have undercut Bitcoin's core value. Crypto's new influence in DC has boosted aligned firms, but left others feeling vulnerable. A year ago, America's top crypto executives had never stepped foot inside the White House. They had never mingled with the Treasury Secretary or hosted top DOJ officials at swanky off-site summits. That's a very big mouthful, that one. So, what I would say is we have seen a mass acceleration of adoption in America for crypto, and we knew that was going to happen. I think Donald Trump, and I've said this at the time, Donald Trump's World Liberty Financial is value extraction. and not necessarily from you and I, but value extraction from Web3. They have their own stablecoin, and they're going to make money off that stablecoin, which is going to buy back the WL token, the World Liberty Financial Token. And that's going to push the price of that up over time. Do I think that's a bad thing? No. I think more stable coins are good for the American debt, as we spoke about yesterday. I think Trump is certainly one of those people who wants to have his ego polished by everybody, of course. Crypto is the next big thing, the next big industry. I think people call it, the fourth industrial revolution, something like that. I'm not sure about that. But there are many reasons why I would say that I would say Donald Trump is the crypto person of the year for 2025, yes. But he's a little bit like, he's a fallible person of the year. He's not a saint. There is nobody really in crypto who is a saint. But I would say, I think he's been a net positive. I think that's one of the things that people need to introduce into their vocabulary, and that is the cancel culture that seems to be going around, which hopefully will come to an end soon. Cancel culture is basically black or white, and nobody talks about the net benefit or why, has somebody done the best they can. Trump was always going to be the person that brought about crypto adoption, but not without him taking his pound of flesh. He thinks if he can make $5 trillion for America, why can't he take $250 billion? That's how he looks at it. And I said this before he got elected. If he grew crypto to 6 to 8 trillion and he makes a few $100 billion out of it, is that a fair deal? And my answer would be yes. If you look at the left, in America, for example, or maybe even in the UK, you look at the left, they would say, absolutely not. It should be completely about the crypto, and he shouldn't make financial gain from it. It's not how the world works, my friend. It's not how the world works. The world isn't fair, and the world is about pounds of flesh. And as soon as you realise that and step out of your little echo chamber of leftist views, you'll realise that the right is wrong and the left is wrong, and the truth is somewhere in the middle. Okay? Now, we're going to move on from this. I don't want to talk about this too much. Now, the problem I've got for the end of this stream is I've literally lost one of my slides or one of my screens, which is the full screen one. I literally don't know where it's gone. It's vanished. It's completely vanished from my screen. But it doesn't really matter. Right, let's move on very quickly, and this is the big one. Base co-founder draws fire after backing Soulja Boy's token despite repeated scam claims. Now, I made a video in January of this year about Yeezy, the coin from whatever it's called, Kanye West. And I called it a scam in January. And I said, if you ever see this coin, do not buy it. Do not buy this coin. It's going to be a scam. And then several exchanges, who shall remain nameless, listed that coin. And that coin dumped 99.9%. And I called it a scam before I knew the tokenomics, before I knew anything about the team, before I knew anything about the roadmap or the project. I called it a scam. And it scammed. And it scammed within days. And exchanges listed it. And some of those exchanges, and not Binance, by the way, we're talking about other exchanges, but we don't mention names. Those exchanges decided, in their infinite wisdom, that their due process and their deep team doxing was perfectly fine to list this token. And I called one of the CEOs morally bankrupt because that was going to do nothing other than separate you from your money, because it's a scam. And guess what? A month ago, it got delisted from some of these exchanges. How can I call out a scam without knowing anything about the project or the team? I tell you why I can call it a scam, because it's associated with a celebrity. You don't have to be a genius. We could go through a roll call, can't we? Trump, Melania, Yeezy, Libra, that Aussie Iggy Azalea coin, Daddy coin with, what's he called, Andrew Tate. Scam, 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 scam. anyone that you recognize from music, sport, politics, anyone launches a coin and says this time it's different is a scam. You stick to meme coins that have some roadmap, have some community, and have some reason to exist. Okay? Not, do you want 5 million? Hoctor girl. She was another one. Haley, another one, right? They're full of them. I'm going to go and buy that coin. I'm going to go and buy that coin. I'm going to buy that coin. You get dumped and dumped and dumped and dumped on. You lose all your money. Okay? I have bought, which is the worst one I've ever bought. I bought Bonk before it ripped to the upside, but I sold it before it ripped to the upside. And I told everybody it was a scam at the time. But that's probably the biggest one that I've ever played with. But most of the time, I just avoid them. You have to go. Pudgy Penguins could be considered a meme coin. It's got IP behind it. Mew is a meme coin. It's got IP behind it. They have IP. They have value. Where's the value in Yeezy's token? Now, Soulja Boy. Zach XBT's 2023 research documenting dozens of failed crypto and NFC projects tied to the rapper resurfaces as critics question why a Coinbase-backed executive amplified a celebrity linked to past crypto scandals. Do we get a picture of this Soulja Boy? What does he look like? Base co-founder Jesse Pollack is facing mounting criticism after publicly engaging with and backing activity linked to a meme coin associated with Soulja Boy. The case revives long-running concerns about celebrity-driven crypto promotions and the responsibility of senior ecosystem figures. The controversy unfolded over a sequence of posts on X in December. Soulja Boy shared a comparison of creator payout schedules across major platforms, that newer applications offer faster access to earnings. Twitch pays you once a month. TikTok pays you once a week. Favorited pays you once a day. Choose your poison wisely. Pollock amplified the discussion while framing Coinbase's ETH L2 network as an alternative monetization for a creator. In a direct reply to Soulja Boy, Pollack said he had just backed the rapper on Base and had instantly earned, describing the interaction as an example of new internet behavior. Base app pays you instantly. Very, very nice. Base app pays you instantly. So I just backed you on Base and you instantly earned new instant. Okay, right now. What I would say is this isn't backing his meme coins. And again, I'm not on Jesse's side. I'm not on Soulja Boy's side. All I would say about stuff like this is that you just need to avoid everything like this as possible. Now, there is another way to look at this. Just let me check my chat for a second. There is another way to look at this, which is we had the golden rules. We had the 10 commandments of crypto. And I said number one was dollar cost average into Bitcoin. Buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin. Maybe on our 10 commandments, we should have one that says, thou shalt not buy any personality-led project. Maybe that should be one of them. Now, I'll give you an example. Let's see if we can find it. We've got time. We've got 5 or 10 minutes. So what I want to run through at the end of the stream as well is a list of our streams that we're going to do for the rest of the month. Now, just let me give you an idea. What was I going to look up then? I've forgotten what I was going to look at. Soulja Boy, community-led scams. What was I going to look for? Was it something I had posted? Let me have a little look. I can't remember. Soulja Boy, Jesse. I've lost that track. Never mind. Okay, we're going to go on to talk about, the last thing we're going to talk about today is our list of dates that we will be streaming. Okay, now, I know a lot of you by name. Okay, you know me on Telegram. You know you can contact me. You know you can reach out. Now, what we don't know, and we never want to know because it's not really, we don't want to pry. Let me just make that small enough to fit on my screen so I can talk about it. There we go. So, and this is quite important, and this is something we want to cover at the end of this stream. And that is, we know a lot of you have nobody to talk to about crypto because you live in different parts of the world where crypto hasn't been adopted. Nobody knows anything about crypto. Nobody knows anything about crypto and you. Nobody knows you have anything to do with it. Maybe you keep it private. Maybe you don't want people to know, even your family. So what we do is we stream all the way over Christmas. Now, I am looking at the calendar that we have between now and the 2nd of January. And every single day, bar the 28th of December, we will be streaming. So the 18th until the 2nd of January, we will stream every single day. That's either a morning show by me, a chart show by the Oracle, because he streams at 9 o'clock at night. And all of these shows, by the way, I think all of them are going to be on Binance Square and on YouTube. So they're going to be in both places. We're going to have a Wolf Swap or a Wolfies quiz night. We're going to have a Christmas quiz night. We're going to have a Maple quiz night. And on the screen now, you will see our 2022 awards screenshot. We're going to do an end of year awards show like we did in 2022. 3 years ago, we did that. And we're going to do one this year. And those award shows, I mean, don't go back and watch the video because I tell you now, it was horrific what we did back then. But we had no equipment. We didn't have decent cameras. We had no decent backgrounds. It was a mess. But we're going to be streaming for you on Christmas Eve. We're going to stream on Christmas Day in the morning at 11 o'clock. We're going to stream on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day in the morning. So, and this is very, very sincere, if you are on your own on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day or New Year's Day, if you're on your own and you want an hour with me and the Oracle where we come on, we talk about some charts, we talk about some fun, maybe we'll do some fun quiz type things. I don't know what that might be. But if you just want to spend an hour with somebody on Christmas Day and New Year's Day, then we will be here. Now, we didn't do this last year because I had an eye operation that I was recovering from. I couldn't see last year. And this year, I've had both of my eyes fixed, and now I don't need to wear glasses. It's a miracle, okay? Well, it's not a miracle because the surgeon was the guy that did it. But the point of the matter is, we did it in 2022. We did it in 2023. Unfortunately, because of my illness, I couldn't do it last year. But we're going to do it this year. So don't feel like you're going to be alone Christmas and New Year, because they can be, especially if you might be working away. If you're on your own, don't feel isolated. We're going to be here for you on those days. And like I said, the only days that we will not be streaming, maybe the 21st, which is a Sunday, and maybe the 28th, which is a Sunday. But every other day, you will either see me, or you will see the Oracle, or you'll see us both on those days. And every other day. And like I said, it's going to be a mixture of things. We're going to do Christmas specials, morning shows, quizzes, charts, awards. It's all there, okay? And we will try and give out some prizes as well. We'll try and give you some prizes as well along the way. But listen, do me a favour. If you win something on Christmas Day or you win something on New Year's Day, don't expect me to send you a prize on Christmas Day. Just think of it as Santa has been delayed and he's not got to your house yet. You might get it on Boxing Day or the 27th, but that's something for a different story. Now, like I said, I'm not on full screen because I've deleted my scene somehow. I've deleted my scene. So I'm going to go and remake that scene now. What time is it? It's about 11:59, isn't it? I think that's all I've got to talk about today. Now, there will be no stream, probably no stream tomorrow, because I'm probably going to have a catch-up with Brogan. Probably going to have a catch-up, coffee in the morning on Wednesday. Probably going to go out, get some toast, stuff like that. So that's tomorrow. But then we'll be back on Thursday. Now, Friday night is Wolfies. Wolfies is an NFT project that we love. And we're going to do a quiz about it on Friday night. 7 o'clock. I haven't put anything up on X. I haven't put anything up on Binance because, as I said at the very start of the show, we can't just stick things up on Binance. There's only so many streams we can add to Binance. I think the limit is 3. But what we found, if we add multiple streams to Binance, it doesn't work. So we have to add them one at a time. So what I might try and do is publish a list of streams somewhere on... Just give me 1 second. I I'm going to basically be here on Friday twice, morning and afternoon. We're going to talk about Wolfies. We're going to talk about lots of things. Sorry, I'm just checking my phone. We have a lot of deliveries arriving now. So thank you everybody for watching. Take care. I won't see you tomorrow, I don't think. And if I do, I'll put the stream up now. But anyway, check the calendar of events. I'm going to try and publish that somewhere. And we will see you on the other side. Take care.